Welcome to the Oxford Internet Institute's Virtual Open Day. This is our opportunity and your opportunity to learn more about the OII and the kinds of things we have on offer for those of you who are interested in studying here. I'll give a few brief introductory words, and then we've got some information about the Masters, we've got some information about the DPhil, also some current students that we'll have you talking to. So let me just start by saying we're delighted to welcome you here today and very excited about what we are as a department and what we can offer you and what you can offer us. The Oxford Internet Institute's really a truly multidisciplinary department. We're looking for students from all sorts of backgrounds. Our current students, both on the Masters and the DPhil program, come from a huge variety of backgrounds. They come from the social sciences, as one might expect. They come from communications, but also from fields as diverse as language and literature, from engineering and computer science, even from fields like physics and the natural sciences. Basically, they all come together because they're interested in solving something about how to understand life online and life on the internet and how people behave with each other in this world of the internet. Now, before we get started, I'm going to ask our Deputy Director here at the OII, Vicki Nash, to say just a few words about the OII and the kinds of things that we're trying to do as an institute.
Sure. Well, first of all, I just wanted to add my welcome to Eric's. Obviously, given the number of international students that we bring here to the OII, it's entirely fitting that we have a virtual open day as well as a physical one each year. And it is a really great opportunity for people to ask questions along the way. To that end, I'm just going to also note that if you want to, you can email us with a question during this hour. Email us at teaching@oii.ox.ac.uk or via Twitter. The hashtag is OII Open Day. Is that correct? Yes. So I'm very aware you want to know an awful lot more about the courses, so I'm only going to say a couple more things about the OII. But really, the most important things that we really want to flag up are sort of twofold. The first is that when you apply here, you don't just apply to a department, a world-leading department. You're obviously applying to a world-leading university. And the role of the OII within this university as a full department is that we have our own research agenda, we have our own degree programs, we have our own student body. And I really like to think that the students that we bring here are incredibly well integrated within our department. It's a very friendly place to be, but also within that wider university, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. The second thing, though, that's worth noting, I think, as Eric said, is just the sort of sheer multidisciplinarity of this place. It is probably one of the only places that I've come across recently where you spend your time at the water cooler having a conversation with a lawyer, a geographer, a political scientist and a physicist, all on a topic that you mutually understand and are interested in. So it is an incredibly dynamic place to be and to study the internet. I think we're going to hear more about that now in the context of the specific courses, so I'll hand back to Eric.
So I'm the Director of Graduate Studies here at the OII, but we also have a Director of our Master's program who unfortunately can't be here today because he's feeling a bit poorly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our Master's program on Ralph's behalf, Ralph Schroeder, who's the Director of our MSc. So our Master's program is a one-year top Master's degree and has on the order of 35 students in it this year. And this group studies a number of topics over the course of the year. In the first term, you'll get tucked into some theory in a course called Social Dynamics that Ralph Schroeder teaches. You'll also learn about the technology and the regulations that govern the internet in a course we call Tech and Reg, Internet Technologies and Regulation, that's taught by Joss Wright and Ian Brown. Those are two of the core courses we offer so that everyone's got a basic shared understanding of how we can understand the internet. Also in the first term, you'll take some core courses on methods, where you learn some of the different ways you can study the internet, and also some course on statistics. You can understand ways of analyzing the data that you might be gathering. Now, you'll also have a lot of opportunity to explore qualitative methods, not just quantitative methods, both in that first term's methods course, but then also leading into what I'd like to say about the second term here, when you've got a lot of options open to you. You make a lot of choices in your second term, and you'll see these listed on the website. There's one set of option papers that you take that take 8 weeks each that delve into some topic in more detail. And so this includes things like internet economics or online social networks or law on the internet or big data in society and a whole list of other things that let you pick a topic or actually two topics that you're very interested in, spend a lot of time working with a professor and the other students in the class on that, and producing a solid piece of work, usually a 5,000-word essay at the end of the term on that topic. Also, in the second term, you have a selection of methods courses that you'll take, and these are each 4-week modules that are designed to let you get your hands dirty and to really try out some methods. And these are divided into two groups. Group A is taught in the first 4 weeks, and then there's a 1-week break where you turn in homework, and then a second group of 4-week courses. And these range from the qualitative, looking at big data approaches to understanding the internet and scraping data from the web and analyzing data using either statistics or other sorts of big data analytics, to the more qualitative end of things where we have digital ethnography, interviewing, ways of doing qualitative data analysis, and a number of other things such as presenting data using information visualization or analyzing actor-based models using things like a course called Simulating Society. Then in the third term, you have a more time to work on your particular dissertations that you'll have developed with your supervisor over the year. And there's also a seminar that's taught that term to help you present your work to your peers and to get feedback from the faculty and your peers as well. Then over the course of the summer, you'll be finishing up your dissertation, and that's due at the beginning of August. So it's quite a busy year, but it's also quite an exciting year. I think our students get quite engaged in it. And a little bit later, we'll hear from one of our students who completed an MSc a couple of years ago to talk about her experience on that. But before that, let me hand over to Willy Leiden-Verte, who's the director of our doctoral program, to talk a little bit about what the doctoral program consists of.
Sure, thanks Eric, and hello everybody. So our doctoral program is called the DPhil in Information Communication and the Social Sciences. And as with any doctoral program, really the ultimate goal of the program is turn you into a scientist, someone who's capable of producing new scientific knowledge. And there's basically three elements to that. One is the theory and existing literature that we will teach you and you will study. One is the methods that you need to carry out an ambitious program of original research. But then third, and also very important, is your socialization into the academic community and into the profession of a scholar. So let me talk a little bit about how the course is structured and then how these three different elements play out in practice. So it's a 3 to 4 year program. There is most coursework mostly during the first term. So we have 3 terms in a year, and in the first term, the first autumn, there's some mandatory coursework. So you will be learning about a theory in the social dynamics of the internet. You will be learning about a wide range of methods, both conventional social science research methods as applied to internet context, as well as new big data and other sort of more innovative, well, more, let's say, more recent methodological approaches. And you will also, during that first term, you will work on your research plan. You will work on what is it that you ultimately will be producing during your stay here. During the second term, you'll have the option then of taking some additional methods courses to focus specifically on methods and techniques that interest you. So everything from, or that you need in order to implement your ambitious research plan. So everything from advanced statistics to the kinds of things that Eric was just talking about, from simulating society to scraping tweets of Twitter with Python code, to qualitative interviews, computer-assisted qualitative analysis, and so on and so on. And then during your second year, you will be typically working on collecting your data, whether that means field trips to distant locations, or whether that means internet field research or quantitative data collection, and analyzing your data and starting to write up your thesis. And then during the third and fourth year, you'd be expected to finalize your data collection analysis and finalize your thesis. But all through this time, you will also be, very importantly, participating in OII's and Oxford's academic community. So at the departmental level, in the most basic way you'll do that is by participating in the DPhil seminar. So every Tuesday, today, just before this virtual open day, we actually had the DPhil seminar, and that happens every week during term time. And it's where doctoral students get to present their work, get peer feedback, get to learn about each other's work, get to comment, learn, but get to sort of get practiced in commenting on others' work, realize things about their own work through seeing others' work from an outsider perspective and so on. But then also very importantly at the department you get to interact with the faculty here. So obviously at OII we're carrying out a lot of cutting edge research on internet and the social sciences. So as Vicky mentioned, everything from geography to regulation to sociology. I'm an economic sociologist myself. We have economists, physicists, so on. All these faculty members are presenting their research in our departmental seminars, which you'll be attending. You'll also be interacting with them in other ways, and in many doctoral students participate in our research projects through research assistant positions and so on. And then finally, the Oxford's wider academic life, obviously there are world-leading departments in many disciplines that organize a lot of activities, a lot of open lectures. Every night there's a lecture, a reception, a seminar somewhere. And many of our students, in fact it's almost an expected part that as a student you'll also be organizing events, organizing networks, communities, reading groups, online communities, blogs, everything. So those are the different ways in which you will be also socialized into the community and into the academic profession and emerge from the course as someone who has not only completed an ambitious original program of research in the interface between society and the internet, but also who's become a full-blown member of the Oxford and wider world academic community.
Thanks, Billy. So when we had our physical open day a couple of weeks ago, the people who came to that were able to see the building and see where we're located here in Oxford. So since you're wherever you are around the world, you might be interested to know what we look like and where we're located. So we've put together a short video that we're going to show in just a moment that one of our staff members, Tim Davies, will take you on a tour of our two buildings that we have here at the OII to give you a little bit of a sense of where we work and who's here.
Welcome to 1 St Giles, the home of the Oxford Internet Institute, located in the heart of the city of Oxford, located between Trinity College and Balliol College. And buses, lots of buses. And now we're inside, safe from all the buses and the traffic outside. This is Pauline and Julia on reception, and these would be the two main points of call to come to if you had any problems, if you needed a Wi-Fi code, or if you wanted to know about an event. We're now going to go through to the student room. Oh, we do actually have a real-life student in here. So this is where students come to work, to relax, but also just to socialise. This is the Oxford Internet Institute's library. These are all specialist books on the internet and its many different aspects of research. This is the OII seminar room. We can't unfortunately go in there because there's actual teaching going ahead right now. But this would be where a lot of the teaching is done and where all our public seminars and lectures are held. If you just wandered out there, you'd come to Balliol College, back to the quad, and in the summer it's lovely to go there to sit and have your lunch. So this is the IT office, the place to come if you have problems with any aspect of computing whilst you're a student at the OII. Unfortunately, Adam's not here at the moment, but he would be sat there, and Arthur would be over a point of call sat there. This is Rebecca Enyon and Andy Shabilsky, two researchers at the OII. Aha! Here is Eric Mayer, Director of Graduate Studies at the Oxford Internet Institute.
Hi.
We've come in to meet Willy Ledenwerter, who is the director of the DPhil programme. Unfortunately, again, he's away as well, must be in a meeting or something. But this is where he would sit, and if you were a DPhil student and needed to come and see him, this is the place to come to. We're now going to go to our satellite office, 34 St Giles, so if you'd like to follow me down the stairs, come this way. Okay, so we survived the busy St Giles crossing to come to our satellite office, 34 St Giles. I've forgotten my card, so I'm going to have to ring for Ornella. This is Ornella, our Administrative and Personnel Officer. My colleague in my office, come through and see what we have at 34. First thing to notice is we've got a lovely meeting room, big airy light space, and this is where some teaching takes place and a few events happen here as well. Now, if you'd like to come to the office that I share with Ornella, this would be the first point of call that you'd come to if you're a student coming to this building. So here's Ornella again, and here is my desk, just tucked away behind the computer screens. We'll now take you downstairs to the DPhil study room. So this is the DPhil study room. We have Paige, who's one of our current DPhil students, our new intake this year. If you'd like to follow me now, we'll go upstairs to the first floor and meet some of our researchers. One thing about this building is it will keep you fit because there are a lot of stairs. This office is perhaps the favourite among research staff because of its massive windows and light and airy atmosphere. This is Josh Cowles, our research assistant at the OII. Josh is also a former student of the Oxford Internet Masters programme, so he'd be a great person to chat to once you're a student here too. Hello, Grant. We're in luck that Grant's at his desk. Grant is a big part of the Masters course. He does a lot of the teaching, including a lot of the stats teaching, so he would be a good person to get to know. So again, some more OII research stuff. This is Sana and then Chris, who are two parts of the GeoNet research team here. Thank you very much for joining me on the tour. If you have any other questions about teaching matters at the OII, please email teaching@oii.ox.ac.uk.
Great. So very thanks to Tim for showing you around our buildings, and you'll see that we've got two lovely buildings for you to work in. And one of the questions that often comes up from students is they don't quite understand the whole way the Oxford Internet Institute is part of the University of Oxford. So we're a department in the University of Oxford. We offer the degrees that you're thinking of applying to. But there's also this whole college system at Oxford that is sometimes confusing to people who aren't familiar with Oxford. So one of the people who's most familiar with that is our Deputy Director, again, Vicki Nash. You can talk a little bit about how the college system works and what you get out of the college system as a graduate student.
Sure. I should say I've been here for nearly 20 years now, and I'm not sure I can lay claim to understanding how the university operates fully. But anyway, I mentioned before that you're not just applying to the OII, you're applying to the university. And one of the things that really sets Oxford apart, I think, from so many other institutions is the fact that it's a collegiate institution. Obviously, historically, if you look back at the very early days of the university was the colleges, and those little, if you like, sort of enclaves of academic life where academics and monks and so on came to study, they very much were the university at that point. As it's evolved over the centuries, the university was essentially built for undergraduates, and to that extent, again, teaching continued to take place at the college level. And for most students, the college is sort of the entirety of their academic experience. However, with the advent of graduate teaching, I think that's changed quite significantly. And so for those of you who are looking to apply to our degrees, you will be applying effectively to two places. You'll be applying to us first and foremost, but secondarily also to a college. Now, it's up to you, I think, whether you name a specific college or whether you leave that choice open. But in either case, you will have to have a college place in order to study here. And I should also say that if you're given a place at the OII, a college place will automatically follow, whether it comes straight away or takes a couple of months. You will be allocated a college place. But what does it mean as a graduate student? As we said before, your teaching takes place here, so what is it that the college delivers? Well, I think that it offers still an enormous amount. So, I mean, first and foremost, thinking about the intellectual immersion that Billy was talking about, for example, for a lot of students, this is something that they notice most fundamentally within the college environment, whether that be standing in the lunch queue, whether it be college dinners, whether it's sort of conversations and social events. You are surrounded by other great students, great faculty from a huge variety of disciplinary backgrounds, and in many ways, that is the sort of the greatest feature of what it is to do a degree in Oxford. Secondly, it obviously offers a great deal of practical support. For some students, it might actually offer physical accommodation, whether that's in college or on an off-college site. If it doesn't offer in-college accommodation, it may well have college accommodation lists. It will almost certainly provide you with meals, often formal, informal cafeteria meals at lunchtime, formal dining in the evening. Thirdly, and not to be sniffed at, it offers a significant source of social activities. We do expect our students to work extremely hard, and we expect great things of you. But at the same time, we also recognise that a lot of our best students are those who also do things outside their academic life, whether that be simply, standing around in a bar and having lots of friends in college, or pursuing high-level university sports, drama. There are, quite frankly, more social activities and extracurricular activities in university than you can shake a stick at, and it's hard for people to decide what to do, but the college plays a central role in delivering those. And then last but not least, it's worth noting that colleges are the first port of call for pastoral support. So in terms of guidance and advice, if you feel you're having difficulties on a course or struggling to get work done, then usually the college is the first port of call, and it provides a degree, if you like, of separation from the academic environment of the department. So at the end of the day, I know it's confusing. It's worth having a look at the list of colleges on our website. Not all colleges accept our students, but have a look at those that do. Think about a couple of factors, whether you want to be in a modern college, which may have sort of newer facilities, different layout, whether you want to be in an old college. Also perhaps whether you want to be with graduates only, or whether you want the sort of full experience of being an undergraduate college. The point is that they do differ significantly. It's quite hard to tell at a distance, but have a look at their websites, have a look at their alternative prospectuses, and obviously feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Well, now I'm sure it's on the top of your minds how one goes about actually applying for our degrees here at the OII. So first, we're going to hear from Pauline Kinneber, who's going to answer a few questions or talk a little bit about the process of applying, and then we'll come back to me and Billy, talk a little bit about what we look for specifically in the applications that come to us when we're evaluating those. So first, Pauline.
Hi there. So you may have had a look on our website already, hopefully, to see what kind of things we're looking for part of the application process. I'll just run through them quickly, what we look for. So as well as the online application, we ask for official transcripts to be included. We look for a CV. For those who are applying to the MSc programme, we ask for a statement of purpose. This is usually around 500 words. For those of you that are interested in the DPhil programme, we look for a research proposal, which is usually around 2,500 words. For both programmes, we also ask for one piece of written work, that's usually around 2,000 words. And if your first language isn't English, we always ask for English language test scores to be submitted. Don't worry if you don't have these already. I know some people book up for the courses and don't have their test results in time for the application. That's something you can always send to us afterwards if there's an offer made, and it's something that we would say as a condition. On top of this, we need 3 academic references. Now, what we always stress when people are applying is to give your referees plenty of time. There's nothing worse than having to chase referees on the last day the application is due. I should also really stress that graduate admissions collect all the applications in the first instance. They basically are the deciders as to whether an application is complete, so make sure you have all the documents included. They won't send us applications if they're not complete. And if you have any questions about any of the admission requirements, do drop us an email. Otherwise, I know I ran through that really fast, so if you have any uncertainties, you want to double check the admission requirements, they can be found on our website and the dedicated course pages on the university website. Now, for both programmes, we have for our MSc programme we have for our MSc programme we have 3 application deadlines. The November deadline, which has just passed. The next one we have is the 23rd of January, and we also have a final one on the 14th of March. For the DPhil programme, we only have 2 deadlines, one in November, which again has passed, and the next one to look out for is the one on the 23rd of January. Now, to be considered for scholarships and funding in university, we always tell applicants to apply for the November and the January deadlines. It doesn't matter which one you've applied for, so don't worry if you've missed the November one. All students that apply for the January deadline will be considered for the scholarships as well. One thing to stress is that some scholarships might require a separate application process. But you can find full details of that on University Fees and Funding website. As Vicky mentioned, there's a few stages for the application process. First of all, they're sent to graduate admissions. We then receive the applications that are complete, and some people are invited to interviews. If you're successful, you're then made an offer, and once the offer has been made, we then send on your application to colleges. Now, as Vicky mentioned again, you can indicate a college preference, but that's not mandatory. If you have no preference, you can always submit an open application. Every student that has made an offer for our programme will be allocated to a college. One thing that I think everyone will agree with is to apply early. Don't leave it till the final day, because graduate admissions, as you can imagine, are always so busy with last minute requests. Basically, the sooner you get an application in, the more opportunity there is for them to help. They can let you know if there's any materials that are missing, if you have any questions, you're not sure if things have been submitted on time. If you get in touch with them a week or so before, they will be able to answer those queries. But if you leave it to just a day or so before, that's something that can be quite difficult for them. I think that's everything.
Great, thanks, Pauline. So yes, we can't emphasize too much. Be sure you get your materials in plenty of time, because if you wait till the last minute and something's incomplete, there's absolutely nothing we as a department can do about this. The university won't give us the application to even look at, let alone to assess. So making sure that those materials are in, and that includes all your letters of reference, and if you have a transcript that needs to be translated, the translation has to be in on time. So all those materials need to be in place before we even get a chance to look at them. Now, I'm sure we'll go to your questions in just a few minutes, but first, just a few things about what we look for in those applications. So I'll talk about the MSc since Ralph isn't here. On the MSc applications, as you've heard, there's a statement of purpose in there. And what we're looking for in this statement of purpose, well, I can tell you what we're not looking for. Don't start it out by saying, when I was 11, I started using the internet. I'm really excited about it, because that's quite trite, and we see that too much. Talk about what intellectually excites you about understanding life online. You know, what brings you to wanting to apply for a degree in the social science of the internet particularly. And this doesn't have to be that you've studied it before. You might, as I said, come from a wide variety of backgrounds, but something in your life has got you to the point of thinking about getting a master's in the social science of the internet, and we want to understand that process and help us see why not only are you a good, strong applicant for us, but why we're a good fit for helping you move forward in your life and your career. You know, including this sort of information will help us really understand the context of the other things we're looking at in your application. We look very heavily at your reference letters to see how other people have talked about the work you've done. We look a lot at the marks you've achieved in previous work. And if, you know, I can tell you, if you've got some big red flags in your past, it's better to sort of address those head on and tell us why they're red flags rather than hope we don't notice it, because we'll notice it. And also, for those of you who get interviews, you'll have an opportunity in those interviews to explain the context of your background and to explain the other sorts of reasons why you're interested in coming here to study for the MSc. And so a tip for if you get past that first screening and get asked to an interview, you know, look through the courses we offer and look through the website and understand some of the things, some of the options that are available to you, because that's one of the questions we might ask you. Which options are you interested in? What kinds of things are you hoping to learn during your time here? So that not only we can find the best applicants, but we can find a good match. Now, we look for a few other things in the doctoral applications, because you've got a longer piece of work that you submit as opposed to the MSc application. So maybe Billy can talk a little bit about that.
Sure, thanks, Eric. So one of the things that you'll be submitting along with your doctoral application is the research proposal. And so I'm just going to say a few words about that. A good length would be about 2,500 words. And it should really be about just one thing, one research idea that you have that relates to the internet and society. You might have multiple ideas in your head. You might have various different paths that you could take with that one idea. But in this research proposal, please just show that you're able to think through one idea from idea stage to a complete research proposal. So, and those other good ideas that you have, put them in your back pocket, and you can pull them out at the interview if you feel like it, or you can pull them out later if you get accepted. You can still tweak your research plans once you've started here, but in that proposal that you submit as part of the application materials, please focus on one idea, really think it through. So the kinds of things that you should show in that proposal is that, well, you should show it's really your opportunity to show that you've started to think seriously about the internet and society, about one particular topic within that very large sphere. You have started to think about why this particular topic is important, so you can motivate to us why this is something that's worth studying. You should show that you have started to look into what other people are saying about this topic, the literature around this topic, and that you have started to identify some gaps in that literature. And obviously with a multidisciplinary department like ours, there's a vast amount of potential literature that you could be reading. So in some ways you need to make choices, and you need to choose what literature seems most relevant to the topic and perspective that you want to take. If you're interested in what kinds of literature we're teaching here, for example, you could take a look at the reading lists of some of the courses that we have online. Then, once you've identified relevant literature, some gaps in there, try to express a research question in as unambiguous terms as possible. And once you've outlined the research question, tell us how you could approach that in methodological terms. How could you feasibly address this research question? Now, most of the work that is done here is empirical research. So that means that you will use some method of obtaining data, or perhaps collating some pre-existing data and analyzing it one way or the other, whether qualitative or quantitative. But it's not out of the question also to do a theoretical thesis that, for example, in the field of philosophy, we have a professor of information ethics here after all. And then finally, in your research proposal, you have the opportunity to talk to us about what implications would this research have to other researchers, to citizens, to users of the internet, to businesses, to governments, if you got the chance to pursue this program of research. So those are really the things that you should be thinking of when it comes to the research proposal.
Thanks, Billy. So we'll turn to your questions in just a minute, but let me just briefly mention some of the questions that might be on your mind is, well, what do you do with a degree, either in the social science and the internet or a DPhil in information communication and the social sciences? And we've looked at statistics for this for the number of years we've been enrolling students. And for the master's degree, about 2/3, the master's degree is the highest degree they'll get. They don't go on to further doctoral study. About 1/3 will apply for doctoral study, some here at OII, some at other universities around the world. But for those 2/3 who the master's is their final degree, they go off into a huge variety of interesting things. So we've got a large number of people that work at organizations like Google and Facebook and other internet companies. We've had some that go off and start up their own companies, sometimes even with people that they've met here on the course. They've gone off and started up companies together that they didn't know each other before this. We've had a number that go into things like consulting. Organizations like McKinsey and other consulting firms around the world have been very eager to take up some of our students. We've got other students who do things like work with governments and work with the civil sector in order to help shape policy around the internet and technology regulation. So they've really gone off and done lots of interesting things, and I think that if you come here, you'll also be doing lots of interesting things after your degree. Now, for the doctoral degree, the proportion's different. Once people have their doctorate, 2/3 probably do stay in academia. They go into academic jobs in various places around the world. We've got people placed in university departments in not just the UK, but in Asia and in North America and lots of other places. But again, it's not the only path out of the DPhil is into an academic life. About 1/3 of our doctoral students who finished here have gone into, again, either industry, again, Google. We've got some working at McKinsey and other consulting firms, and others have gone off and done a variety of interesting things that, again, advise governments and things like that once they've got their doctoral degree. So there's not just one model for what one can do with a degree from the OII, and we're always interested and surprised to see the exciting things that our students do. So why don't we turn to some of the questions that we've had via email or Twitter. So Pauline?
Sure. So this first one has come in. It's about the DPhil program. This person has asked, before I apply to the program, should I reach out to the professors to discuss the topic, to narrow down the focus area and see whether they would be interested in advising me on such topic?
Sure, Pauline. So when you apply for the doctoral program, you're asked to indicate who might be a potential supervisor or potential supervisors. And so it's not a bad idea to reach out to potential supervisors with your topic and ask, just to confirm, is this something that you could potentially supervise? Does this fall within your field? Now, you can't expect the potential supervisors to engage in a very deep conversation about your topic because they get a lot of contacts like this, but it's worth sending them a well thought out a paragraph or two about your research topic, or even a one-pager, to see what they say. But what's not necessarily very useful is to send a one-line or one-sentence topic that's very general and that's not very well thought out, because the only thing they can say to that is, well, yes, I do work in that general area, but without fleshing out your thoughts a little bit more, it's very hard for me to say whether that would be appropriate or not.
Sure. Great. This one I think you might be able to answer, Eric.
Okay.
And this person's interested in applying to the MSc program, and they have said, does the writing sample for the application need to be about the social science of the internet, or is a 2,000-word paper on another topic sufficient for the application?
It's absolutely fine to submit your best writing on any topic. It doesn't need to be about the internet. As I said, we accept students from all sorts of backgrounds. So pick the writing that you've done that really shows your ability to think clearly, to express yourself effectively. I've seen essays about topics including archaeology, French philosophy, science topics, all kinds of things. But if they're really well written, even if we don't have an expert on understanding the nuances of that topic, we'll be able to see how well you are at expressing yourself, and that's really what we're looking for.
Great. And we have another one here. It's to do with our MSc program again. I'm an MSc student at LSE, but I also have 10 years worth of experience in online engagement and digital strategy. I'm wondering how you feel about candidates with a mix of professional and research experience.
Well, again, I think we get lots of students who come here not directly out of an undergraduate program or something like that, but come here after having done things in business and other areas. And I think they really add a lot to the mix of students that we have. They bring interesting professional experience, and they really do add to the courses. So we're always looking for people who've got that. And that can be part of the motivation you talk about in your statement of purpose, that you've been out for 5 years, 10 years working in this industry and said, there's something that is really bugging me that I'd really like to spend more time researching in depth that I don't have time to do in my day job, but if I'm able to come and work on this degree, I'll be able to get stuck into it and really understand something new, and that's why I'm motivated to apply.
Great. And this question tags on quite nicely. Someone who's been out of academia for several years, and they've asked if it's acceptable to have 3 professional references instead of academic ones.
Well, we realize that there are some difficulties in getting back in touch with, say, a professor you haven't seen in 20 years. If it's not possible to get academic references, try to find at least some of your professional references that can talk about your ability to write and communicate and express yourself clearly, rather than just your ability to be a good employee, because we really want to be able to know that you've got some built-up skills in terms of how you're able to express yourself. So if you've written reports, for instance, that person can talk about how you delivered that report or how you did the research as part of your job, I think that would be one way to deal with the fact that you don't have any recent academic references. But if you do have any academic references that you've kept in touch with the referees that are able to write your reference, even if it's been a few years, including at least one of those might be very helpful to us.
Great. We have another one in. How many OII MSc students continue with the PhD program?
So,
Well,
there's no quota per se.
No.
yeah.
In any given year, we'll have maybe 1 or 2 master's students who get accepted onto the DPhil. I mean, you have to understand numbers-wise, we've got about 35 master's students in any given year, and about 5 or 6 doctoral students. So they couldn't all move in. There's just not space for that. And they have to apply just like anybody else has to apply. So we do get some of our students applying each year. Some of them get accepted onto the programs. Others get accepted onto other programs at other universities around the world.
Some very good programs as well. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
From the last batch, someone went to Harvard for a doctoral program. We've had people go to various good schools in the UK and internationally as well.
Yeah, no, Stanford and LSE have taken
Right.
master students from here. So we certainly encourage those who think they might want to do that to talk to us and apply, and you'll be meeting someone who did that in just a minute. But it's not a guarantee that once you got on the master's, you automatically get a spot on the DPhil program. They're completely separate processes.
Great. You might be able to answer this one, Billy. Someone has asked, who teaches the course for virtual economies and virtual selves? And where can I find more information on the content of the courses?
Sure, well, that's me who's teaching that course. I believe there is a reading list online that basically gives a summary of what's going to happen in that course for the 8 weeks that it takes. That shows what you're expected to read during that course, and it also talks a little bit about the kinds of activities that you'll be doing in practice on that course. If you have some very specific questions, I'm happy to take them by email.
Well, while we're on the topic of the experience of students, why don't, Billy, you introduce the two students we have here with us
Sure.
and spend a few minutes talking with them about what it's like to be a student at the II.
Sure, all right. So here we have two excellent doctoral students. There's Ben Devenbergen and Ulrika Rauer. And both have actually gone through our master's program. And, oh, sorry, one of them has gone through our master's program. So she'll be Ulrika will be able to address both the master's and the doctoral program. And so, can I first ask you both to sort of introduce yourself quickly, where you come from, and what stage are you in your doctoral studies, and what is your topic that you're working on? Maybe from Ben?
So I'm Ben Zevenbergen. I studied law in the Netherlands, always interested in how law and internet interact. And I came to the II 2 years ago to work as research assistant first, and then I joined the DPhil program in my second year here. Next week I have my transfer viva, which means I go from probationary research student to the next stage. So that is outlining my research that I want to do. I want to study information privacy theory, and by using a whole series of case studies, I want to see whether new and emerging internet technologies are changing how people interact with privacy, and whether we can enhance the theory a little bit.
Thanks, Ben.
Rick?
So my name is Ulrika Rauer. I'm a second year DPhil here at the OII. And as Willy already said, I was also doing the master's program here. So actually doing the master's program in 2010-11. Then I was working for 2 years at McKinsey, where I focused on healthcare and IT, which is also what I'm doing here now at the OII, looking at how internet use affects how people make use of health services. And I mean, obviously I came back after the MSc, so I really liked it here, especially because I think there are quite a lot of people doing cutting edge research here who you can always talk to. I mean, everybody's very approachable. Great supervision, giving you lots of guidance, but at the same time also giving you the freedom that you need to kind of explore yourself. And just a great student community. I mean, I think both in terms of working together, but then also sometimes just going to the pub and talking about things. So I think both really important.
Thanks. I think you've also been involved in teaching yourselves at the OII, so can you maybe share some experience about that?
I'm currently involved in the Internet Technologies and Regulation course as a teaching assistant, and it's been a lot of fun to also sit with Ian Brown and Josh Wright and to talk about the course, to design a little bit, to think of some exercises. I spent 4 years working in legal practice and international politics, so I can use a lot of my experience to think of some scenarios for the students to talk about based on their readings. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's not a one-way stream of teaching. It's very interactive.
And I was doing teaching on the advanced quantitative methods course, which now is part of this kind of the quantitative things that you do in the second term. And I think there are just lots of opportunities here for teaching, but also for kind of being a research assistant on certain projects. I mean, usually there's rather more than you can do without being distracted too much from your DPhil, so lots of things going on.
So speaking of too much to do, you've contributed to that problem yourselves as well by organizing all kinds of interesting events and gatherings. Do you want to say something about them, Ben?
Yeah, I think that's really the fun thing of Oxford and of especially the OII is just the amount of freedom you get to invite interesting speakers, to attend interesting talks, to form communities. The other day I had a friend of mine from google.org give a talk at my college with about 20 OII people attending. And I'm inviting speakers next term, one from Stanford, and from many other places. So it's also a good way to distract yourself from just purely reading and doing data analysis.
Not too much distraction.
Yeah. Exactly. And last year actually we thought, well, we have this Internet Institute, which is great, but we also would like to have a conference where kind of emerging researchers can present their exciting work coming from all sorts of disciplines, but being related to the internet. And so we founded the student-led conference Connected Life, which some of you actually may have attended last year, and if not, there's also going to be a chance next June, so June 2015. So watch out on the website for that.
Great. And what kind of, as a final question, what kind of advice would you give to prospective students to the OII? Ben, please.
So when I was writing my proposal, I think I went through about 5 or 6 iterations within 4 months, and every time one word would stay into the next iteration, and I'd get rid of all the rest. So it's really, think about it really hard and be very critical about what you actually want to do, and keep looking. Don't stop with just the first idea that pops in your head, but keep reading and see if you can really find the topic that interests you deeply. And
in terms of the application, I mean, I think you said that it's a very competitive program, and so really make sure that kind of you put in everything that you have, not only for the OII, but also in terms of getting accepted into college and also getting funding. And just answering here to one of the questions on Twitter, so I got funding from different sources, so from something called the Clarendon Fund, which is one of the major graduate schemes here at Oxford, and from a research council. And so just make sure that the proposal also kind of is good enough also for that, because they will be reading that as well. And I think otherwise also what I really like about the OII, in addition to the things I've already said, is that it's really quite, I mean, they really like, or we really like academically good work and being really always pushed to doing good things. But at the same time, it's also very accepted to bring in ideas from other parts of your life. So from whether you work before or something, that's really quite accepted here to really bring in something from that as well. And I would definitely encourage you all to bring in something into your proposal of that as well.
Thanks very much, Ulrike and Ben.
Well, just to follow up on what Ulrike and Ben just said, this putting in as much effort as you can into putting a really polished proposal is quite important. I'll tell you something that, don't take this as discouragement, but encouraging you to put effort into it. We are one of the most selective departments at Oxford, but for both the MSc and the DPhil, in terms of the number of places we're able to offer versus the number of applicants we get. So we're highly selective, but that should be used as a prod to encourage you to really be careful about what you say and to make sure that you've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, so that you don't have any sort of problems in your application. So try and tell us something that really makes you stand out, so that we have a reason to want you to be part of our community. Because we're looking for lots of interesting people to be part of our department all the time. Do we have more questions?
We do. We have lots more questions. I don't think we'll get round to them all, but we can certainly follow up with them afterwards.
Okay.
So we have a couple more with regards to funding. This person's asked, do most OII doctoral students get access to scholarships?
So it's a bit of a tricky question. Some of you who might be applying to, say, North American programs where you'll get an offer that has a sort of pot of money attached to it. At Oxford, things run slightly differently. The offer comes at a separate time than financial offers, which come later, actually, by sort of 2 to 3 months often in some cases. And that being said, there are lots of different kinds of funding that our students are eligible for, and we put the students that apply to our program that we accept into lots of these competitions. And in the last several years, we've been very successful at getting our students in those competitions and having them win the scholarship. So we've had a number of students win Clarendon Awards and ESRC studentships, and also a number of other competitive scholarships that are available through the university and through outside organizations. So sometimes getting funding requires a bit more effort and moving about and trying to be creative in terms of getting funding. But we have been quite successful at helping all of our students either get funds through us or help them get funds through outside organizations over the past few years. I mean, Vicky's been involved in the Clarendon Fund, so maybe she can say something about what those funds look for in particular.
So for those of you that don't know, the Clarendon Fund is it's a large pot of money provided by the Oxford University Press to the university for the purpose of scholarships. That money is then awarded to each division, and the competition takes place at the divisional level. So those people applying to the OII will submit their applications, and if they are if they don't have funding, they'll automatically be eligible for consideration by the Clarendon committee. But obviously, you'll be up against students from all the other departments. So I think the first thing just is to re-emphasise what Eric said, which is, we do manage really well actually get our students funding, but these are competitive processes. So you must sing your praises. I often see a big cultural difference between applications, say from the UK versus those from the US. In the latter, often there just simply are more honours and awards and things that people can put on their CVs. So I think certainly, think really carefully about how you can best sort of sell yourself, if you like, and your achievements to make it really, really clear why you're excellent, why you should be funded. The second thing I think about awards like the Clarendon pot are that, do bear in mind that people, if they're considering, say, 100 applications in a short space of time, they're not going to have a vast amount of time to read each application. And actually the same goes for us when we're doing admissions. So you really must make sure your information is easily clear and accessible, that your CV, think about how you lay it out, are your achievements in your education, the results that you got, are they all really clear? Similarly, in your proposal, make sure that, maybe you have a great introduction and conclusion that are accessible to other people. I think, the sort of general advice obviously is just to make it really clear how academically excellent you really are. But no, certainly the Clarendon Fund has been a great source of funding for our students. It's also worth noting that there are an increasing number of smaller scholarships coming on board for the university. The university is really fundraising really hard for this at the moment. So some of those you may have to apply for separately. In other cases, it'll be a simple matter of whether or not you're eligible, perhaps on the basis of, say, your nationality or your subject background. And so again, really, look at the graduate funding website, the university funding website, which you can get to via our website. You can't Google it, and do your own research. But as I say, there are lots of pots that you'll automatically be considered for.
Right, and some of those funds are available just to doctoral students, others just to master's students, and some are available to either master's or doctoral
Clarendon
students.
is available to both. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, we have another one about employment opportunities within the OII to help students fund their research. I wonder if we could tell them about that.
Well, I think certainly for doctoral students, there's lots of opportunities. As Ulrika mentioned, that there's more research projects that need research assistance than we have research assistants available. And so we're always looking for our doctoral students to get involved in our research. And that provides a bit of money to them, but also provides them publications and experience doing research and so forth. For master's students, there's slightly less opportunity just because the year is so busy. But some of our master's students have gotten involved in projects, even some that have gotten involved in projects sort of after they finish their master's and have stayed on for a period of time to help work on a project. I know Vicky's had that happen, and we've had that happen.
Yep.
So there's a variety of opportunities like that to get involved with the research and that goes on here at the OII.
Okay, I think we have time for one more maybe.
Okay.
Do most international, wrong one. Once a doctoral student, is it easy to travel?
Is it easy to
For things like on-site research or spending a semester elsewhere?
I think depends what you want to do. So I think there's, in terms of funding, there are various travel funds. Then in terms of spending some time at another institution, we have somebody who's currently spending some time at Harvard. I think there are a variety of options to do that, and obviously field work, not to forget that part. I think lots of opportunities for whatever you want to do.
In terms of how the course is structured, you're supposed to be here in Oxford, resident here for the first couple of years. And during that time you can obviously travel for fieldwork and so on. It's only really the first semester, term or two that are really intense coursework and intense face-to-face participation. You shouldn't plan any travel for that time.
Can I just mention travel funding, actually? The only other thing to bear in mind is that the department offers each student a pot of money to support fieldwork costs, research expenses,
For
conference
doctoral
travel, for doctoral students, yes. But also colleges often provide this too. So insofar as it's not just a matter of getting the invitation or the opportunity, but also paying for it, there are a variety of ways that we can help with that.
Well, there are other questions, but we're out of time. We're almost at the 3 o'clock hour in
Yes.
Britain. Wherever that hour is your time, you might be still in your bedclothes, getting up in the morning first thing. But if you have other questions, do feel free to contact us. Probably the best route is the email address teaching@oii.ox.ac.uk. And there's several people who answer that email and would be either able to answer your questions or direct it on to the person who can. You can also tweet us, and we do monitor our Twitter account, the @OII Oxford. Or if you've got specific questions about the master's, the doctoral program, you can contact the program conveners, Ralph Schroeder or Willy Leiden-Verta, or me as the Director of Graduate Studies, Eric Meyer, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. So please do feel free to follow up with those questions afterwards. And thank you very much for spending the last hour with us, and hopefully we've answered some of your questions and have excited you about joining us here at a place we're very excited about, and look forward to seeing your applications in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.